In the world of special needs people, we all need each other. I just love that phrase, Emilio. I love that phrase. So, today's guest on Creating Communities, and by the way, I'm your host, Judy Weigel. Today's guest is Emilio Sosa. He's CEO of the ARC, Los Angeles, Orange County, although you are located in Orange County, correct?
LA County. We're
You're
actually in
in,
LA County. We're in the city of Downey, the
oh,
beautiful city of Downey.
you know what? It is a beautiful city, actually, because Emilio, it's one of the few places other than Burbank that still has a Dairy Queen.
Yes, yes, that is true. And we are actually home of the first McDonald's as well here in Downey. The first original McDonald's here in LA County
You're
is here in
kidding.
Downey. Yeah.
Wow, Emilio, hold on a minute. I just got somebody that wants to be admitted Emilio's note taker. What does that mean?
Oh, you know what? I don't know. That pops up every now and then. Go ahead and decline it. It's part of the new. I don't see it on my
All the
end.
new features
The
for
new
Zoom?
features, it's like the AI note taking, I think.
No
Just go ahead.
way.
Yeah, yeah, it
Well,
comes up. I don't know how to take it off, but go ahead and don't let
Well,
them in.
shoot, I actually just declined it. Now I wish I hadn't, but that's okay. I always listen to the episodes back and write the show notes. So I get to enjoy the interview again before I post it. And I will enjoy this one
Yeah,
because here's the deal. This whole show is about developing community. Community in, oh my God, here it is again.
here. I think
AI pretend. You know what? I'm going to start the companion because
let's
I
do it.
need to learn how to use these features, and it will benefit the audience exponentially if we let AI do this.
Sounds
So,
good.
okay, so we're good. Moving right along. The whole point of this show is to develop community, develop a social community, a residential community, and an employment community, meaning unique approach to employment. And we as a community have to look at things differently for special needs people. So community seems to be the buzzword, but you've been around since how long has ARC been around?
We'll be celebrating our 70th anniversary next year.
70?
70 years serving the individuals with disabilities here in Downey and local surrounding cities.
Wow. Okay, that's super long. And I kind of it seems like community is a buzzword all of a sudden. People are more and more talking about community, which I like. But the two aspects of community that ARC works within social community and employment community. So let's talk about the social community first and why it's so important after graduation from high school, why a social community has to be developed for special needs people.
Well, I think first and foremost, the we have the social aspect, right? We have individuals with disabilities that are coming out of high school, and we've all been there before, where we're out of high school. Our first step, the next day after we graduate high school, it's the next step in our life. And how do we engage the community around us? New friends, new areas, the place that we've been for the last 4 years or 17 years, if you've been in the same location. You're not having to step out into the real world, if you want to, put it that way. If I, and so the social aspect is extremely important because individuals with disabilities are having to readjust in that next step in their lives. And as organizations like the ARC and the many organizations across the state that serve individuals with disabilities, part of our job is to be that bridge to help them continue to integrate into the community, continue to develop social skills in various communities, because as they step out, they're going to begin to build new communities of support around them, whether it be in another new organization, whether it be in their homes. And so the social aspect is really important because we're vital to providing individuals with disabilities the next step in creating relationships and interactions with new groups, new communities that are in their areas.
Okay, but you used a word, and actually, I was looking for it on my notes from your website, isolation. The worst thing that can happen to anybody is if you don't have a social network, you live in isolation. And what kind of problems does that pose?
Well, depression, self doubt, lack of initiative, lack of interest, lack of exploration, all things that we need to keep in mind when we talk about individuals with disabilities, because it's important as organizations for us to continue to provide those opportunities for them to engage in these areas and aspects of their lives. And a lot of times I find that we also have to provide these opportunities to families to be able to provide their individuals. Sometimes we got to remember that the families are usually the core of these individuals' support systems at home. And a lot of times families need the support. They need the resources to better equip and better provide opportunities for their loved ones. And so a lot of times we're working with both the individual and the family to say, here's opportunities that we want to provide you as a family and a use, whether it be our programs, whether it be an outing into the community, whether it may be just a Zoom, seminar as to what is that next step, right? And
Yeah.
so that's important.
Yes. And my sister, whose middle child, John, banner of the show, um, tried after he graduated from high school, and it was special education. She tried to band with all the other mothers that she knew of his friends to see if they couldn't provide some kind of structure to continued socializing. And she said it just kind of seemed like they were tired, that they had gone through so much getting their children through high school that they kind of said, well, okay, we have a lot of people at home. We have a lot of family. We have friends stopping in. So this should be okay. But it's not because they can't grow with their own peer group. And you outlined some other things that can happen to people that are isolated, spending too much time on video games, which we now know for everybody is not very healthy. And then drugs, alcohol, overeating, lack of exercise. And you seem to address these in the programs that you offer. So let's talk about, first of all, for the parents, Emilio, how do you encourage and engage parents to say, come on, we have to do a little more before we allow your child to be off on their own independently? How do you approach the parents with this logic?
As I've been a CEO here for 3 years, and one of the things that when I came in was post COVID. But COVID really had an impact in the disability community because a lot of individuals, for health reasons alone, stayed home, and we had to overcome the fear of coming back to programs and the fear of being back engaged in communities, because health is really important for individuals with disabilities, right? I mean, it is for all of us. And a lot of it was just getting them to say, we're here wanting to be safe for everybody. And we cannot let fear get in the way of keeping our individuals at home, because it's going to lead to isolation. It's going to lead to bad health habits. And so a lot of it was really engaging families and parents to get out of fear first. It's okay to come back. It's okay. We're going to be your partner in ensuring that your loved one is in a safe, healthy environment. And so we had to have that conversation first, and then it coming back, and that took a bit. It really did take a bit
I
for
bet.
families to come back, because there was that fear of, I want to make sure that my loved one is safe, and I can't afford for them to get sick, right? Because a lot of
Right.
times they have other underlying health issues as well, and so there's that big fear. And so it took about 2 years to finally kind of start breaking through, and people feeling getting over that fear to say, okay, I'm going to have my loved one come back to the ARC and the programs that we serve. And now one of the things that we're doing is we really have found that we need to take a strong, intentional approach to working directly with parents and having these side conversations about the decisions that one makes for their family can have long lasting effects. So staying home, is that something we really want to do? Because what are the impacts in the long term for an individual who's staying home? And we talked a little bit about the health habits the the social the lack of social engagement, the
And then
social
still,
emotional
well,
development.
okay, but self-awareness, pride, self-worth. I mean, all of these things come into play if you're isolated, and they become enhanced and healthy if you're with your peers,
Correct.
you
Correct.
know, and
And so that's a lot of the conversation that we have with parents to say, bring them back. Let us be the catalyst to ensure that we're providing these opportunities, these experiences for your loved ones in a safe environment. And that's a responsibility that we take seriously. And those are experiences that we intentionally want to create, because providing opportunity and experience, Judy, is should be in the forefront of organizations like ours. That's our number one, right? We got to provide experiences, we've got to provide opportunities, we've got to advocate, and underlying all that is we got to keep our individuals safe.
okay, so safety has come up a number of different times, and I want to focus on it, Emilio, because I know parents worry about their children being safe. If they're out on the street, can they communicate correctly? Is somebody going to take advantage of them? And I think this is what my sister had run into with John's friends. One was their parents were reluctant to let her even go to the mall initially without them. What could happen to them? So I get it. I mean, even if your kids don't have disabilities, every parent worries when their children are out. So I get it. Okay, so safety is really primary, not only health safety, but physical safety. Along with that, though, transportation is needed to move people from one place to another. Have you addressed transportation yet in your overall program to bring children, special needs, young adults out of the house?
So great question. So we actually partner with various transportation companies
Oh,
that bring individuals to our program. They pick up individuals at their home, bring them to our program. Our program operates from 8 to 4:30 for individuals with disabilities, and so they get dropped off, and then they get picked up at 3:30 and they get taken back home. And those are transportation contracts that families have with their local regional center for services that are provided. So they don't work directly with us. However, transportation across the state has become an issue because sometimes even here at the ARC, we're getting individuals dropped off late. Our program starts at 8. In the real world, in a great world, we would want them all to be here at 8 o'clock. But sometimes due to staffing, you got to remember when we came out of COVID, everybody wanted to work remote. Getting people back in seats, in chairs, it continues to be a challenge. And so transportation companies were needed more additional staff to get to bring their services up to par to align with organizational services like ours. And we still continue to see some challenges in that. So we have people being dropped off 9 o'clock, 9:30, right? When pre-COVID, they were being dropped off at 8 o'clock. But now, you have the staffing shortages that you see all around. And so that's become a challenge. So what we've done is we are a transportation provider. We do have a contract to provide transportation services. So I said to my team, why don't we take on that? We see there's a gap there. And let's us as a transportation organization take that on as a challenge and let's provide our own transportation at a higher level. But we're getting hit with the same staffing shortages. I mean, it's just a reality of the workplace. And so we need to hire additional drivers so that we can send our vehicles out to pick up individuals and ensure that they're here on time. But what's the barrier for us is hiring individuals, hiring drivers that are part-time for early morning or late afternoon to get individuals here before the program starts and individuals here once the program ends. And so staffing continues to be a challenge. So transportation is a challenge for organizations and families who are trying to get their loved ones to programs. Um,
okay, so maybe through this interview, some people will be listening that can respond to this need. Because I know with my nephew John, they're in Pittsburgh, so I travel there twice a year. And if he has to go to work, I forget what the name of the public transportation system is that they have vans that come and pick you up. And, you call ahead of time, you get on the list, and I've watched him not get there at all, and I had to take him. And it's frustrating because you're waiting and you don't know if they're going to come, when they're going to come. So I know this is an issue. And I know with whatever the government agency was that my sister had to contract with in Washington County in Pennsylvania, um, they started talking about Uber, but they didn't have drivers for Uber. So you're right about the hiring. And so I don't know, maybe there are parents that would like to pick up a few extra hours, and this would address safety then,
Right.
because they would be right there.
Right. And let's not forget the stress that it places on parents and the families. I mean, I have
Yeah.
two daughters. I have a 17 and 18-year-old. The 18-year-old's driving, and I worry about her when she's out on the road. I have a 17-year-old who's coming up on her driving test this week and will be able to start driving. Of course, I worry about her, but I also work full time, and as does my wife. And so, could you imagine if we had to continue to worry about that? It adds a level of stress to families and parents. And
Yeah.
I could just imagine the stress levels that families are going through and parents go through and having to juggle one more thing, simple as transportation, that it should be as simple as transportation, but it becomes something that will hold you back for your entire day. It can hold you, it could throw your day for a loop if, like you mentioned, the individual doesn't get picked up. Now
Yeah.
what do you do? Right. And so families and parents are under a lot of stress, and just
Yeah.
ensuring that things that come natural to many of us is now becoming a challenge for them, just to get their loved one to, again, access to services, experiences, and social networks. Right.
Yeah.
Things that we take for granted. And I say that because we don't think about it. It comes second nature. If we want to be socially active with our friends, we get in our vehicle and we go to a party, we
I
go to a
know.
gathering. And for individuals with disabilities and their families, it's much different.
Much
Right.
more difficult, much more time consuming. I
Right.
understand that. So let's just say they're successful getting the kids to you. What programs do you have available under the social networking component of ARC?
So we have a couple programs. So here at the ARC, we have 7 programs that we offer, and we're looking to continue growing those programs. We have a seniors program. Individuals are 55 plus, because we can't forget our seniors. We got to keep our seniors active. We got to keep our seniors engaged, and talk about a group that needs and continuously needs social interaction. Right? We've got a seniors program, and we take them out to outings in the community. We'll take them to downtown Disney. We take them to plays, musicals, and movies. We do bowling. We do it all. We have a community integration program. Now, this program is an interesting program just by the name of it, community integration. So this
I'm
program was
looking at
developed,
it.
yeah, this program was developed 25 plus years. And I can see just by the name of the organization of the program that community integration was a program, if you will, whose main intent was to integrate individuals with disabilities in the community. Well, guess what? Today, all our programs do that. Right? Our sole focus is integrate individuals with disability in every aspect in every program that we offer. So that's one of those programs that we're going to be changing the name, because it's at the core of what we do for every single program. But when that program was developed 25 plus years ago, that was the intent, right? And so now that intent has become a norm for us. Um, so if you go into our website, you'll see community integration program, and that's really, what we do in all our programs. And then we have an Excels program. And Excels is a program for individuals that um, are learning about writing, numbers, colors, things of that nature. And so that Excels program is an education-based program, where we teach healthy signs, we teach safety signs, we teach healthy habits, things of that nature. How to write your name, how to colors, how to socialize, things of
Well,
that
what
nature.
age group does this address?
So we actually we serve individuals 19 years all the way to seniors. So we have individuals that are
Okay.
72 years old in our organization. And what we don't do is we don't integrate, we place individuals, our programs aren't defined by a matrix, if you will. It's really designed by the individual's ability, their interests, and where they are in life and what they want to achieve and accomplish with the help and support of their service coordinator, of their family, and of the ARC, because as a team, we help develop that foundation. And so depending if someone comes to the ARC and they look at our programs, we look at what's the best program that best matches their interests, their abilities, their where they're at in life, and we go about it that way. So we have individuals that are 55, 60 years old that are not in our seniors program. They are in our Excels program, or they may be in our community integration program. So it's all based on interest, abilities, where they are in life, and what they achieve.
And artistic skills. Didn't I read something about there's
Yes.
creative programs
We,
and
yes.
physical? Aren't there things that are more physical?
So we do have a creative arts program. It's one of our fastest growing programs. Individuals with disabilities have some amazing abilities.
Okay.
And so one of the shifts that I'm doing with the organization is shifting program to be more ability based. Okay. And so by that, I mean creative arts. In our creative arts program, you can do painting, you can do knitting, crocheting. We're going to be adding a photography component. So teaching individuals all about these areas and exploring their interest in sculpting, clay, arts, music, things of that nature, and really bringing those interests out in them that they really thrive on and really enjoy doing. Self-expression and creativity, right? And so those are important. We have a culinary arts program where we teach individuals how to work in a commercial kitchen.
Okay,
Who
so this is going to be the segue between social community, which we've been talking about, getting together with people, our peers, doing things in activities that you like. My question was going to be, and you started segueing into it, can these social-based skills and interests be transitioned into work skills that can help them earn money?
100%, Judy, 100%. And that's the focus of what I'm trying to bring to the organization. Because when you think about our careers, your career, my career, all the people that we know, our careers have been driven by our interests. They've been driven by what we enjoy doing. I enjoy working with individuals. I enjoy working at-risk communities, with families, with students, things of that nature. And it's led me to where I'm at today, right? I'm sure your podcast. It's driven by an interest and a passion that you have, right?
Yeah.
And so when I work with my team, we talk first and foremost about providing opportunity and access and experience for individuals so they experience the whole life cycle the way we normally would. And a lot of people don't think about it that way. They think about, I need a place for my loved one to be 8 hours a day, to be safe, and to come back home, right? And we're turning that upside down. We're saying, okay, let's take the interest. I'll give you a perfect example in the creative arts. This is a great story. So creative arts, we have individuals do painting, some amazing paintings, and we had a call from the City Hall in Los Angeles to say we're doing a art expo in City Hall, and we heard that you have a creative arts program serving individuals with disabilities. And said we do, and they said we're taking entries for art pieces that we want to exhibit in City Hall, and we'd love for you to apply. So we sent about 15 different entries. 8 of those were selected. Individuals' art pieces were selected to be put up in City Hall in Los Angeles. They were up for a week in their main hallways, and afterwards they came back and gave each individual whose piece was selected a certificate of accomplishment. They framed their piece of art, brought it back. What a sense of accomplishment for these individuals, right? So we said, okay, how do we then take that interest and turn it into a career for those that are doing amazing work, right? Because that would be a normal next step for us, right? We do a great piece of art. Now let's try to put it somewhere where it gets where it gets exposed to the community, and let's see what those abilities that our individuals can do. And then what if the individual wants to continue doing that and get a job at an art gallery, Maybe they want to, so then we also have a career development program, which once we know that the individual, because it's got to be driven by them, says, I really want to continue doing what I found a passion for. And what's my next step? Well, your next step is possibly getting a job.
Okay,
So
so
what is
hold
that?
that thought.
Mhm.
Hold on, because I want to interject something or I will lose the thought. I was fishing around here for a second while you were talking because I saw on a local television station last week that in downtown Los Angeles, I think it was Hotel Figueroa, but I got to find the paper. An entire art show themed by, and I forget which like disenfranchised group it was. And so I'm like, wait a minute. I know special needs people have artistic abilities. This would be a great follow-up to see if we could have an art show, which you can make money selling your art. And
Right.
so I'm going to get back to you on this. I think it's Hotel Figueroa, but this may be another option for people that you work with.
100%. So
Showcase.
The city of Santa Fe Springs, which is one of our local neighboring cities here, we're in Downey. They're literally five minutes away. Has a city Santa Fe Springs art festival once a year. It's a big arts collaborative. And 3 years ago, they, I there's I'm engaged in our community in various ways, but one of those ways, one of the commissioners for that festival came and said, "Millie, you're working with individual disabilities. You have a creative arts program," and I said, "I do," because I'd shared with them what we were doing, and they said, "We'd love to have you host a booth at our art festival because we've never had an organization that's exhibiting individuals' artwork." They get 3,000-4,000 people at this art festival. It's the LA County Art Festival being hosted in the city of Santa Fe Springs, and so for the last 3 years we've had a booth, um, and we love it because we're showcasing the abilities of individuals, and the art that they create, whether it's sculpting, whether it's art, painting, just a variety of of different forms of art, um, and that's exposure, right? And so then there's here in Downey, there's a state gala. It's an art gallery that's a local gallery here to the city of Downey, and so we're finding ways to partner where we can exhibit and showcase artwork for individuals with disabilities and the things that they're able to do. So again, a lot of advocacy around the work that we're doing, a lot of opportunity and awareness that we need to do and educate the community with.
Okay, so I want to stop for a second and really talk about this because a year ago when I was doing research for the show, I saw a limited series video podcast on YouTube from England, and it was called Geniuses Within. And it was about Tourette's people who have a hard time socializing, because of verbal tics and maybe physical tics too. And there was a woman who was with her son, who was a phenomenal sketch artist. And he was just sitting at his desk in his room doing that. And the woman was saying, look how wonderful he is. But this is how we can be very limited in our thinking as parents. She didn't make the transition that you could actually market this skill and talent for a job. She went with what was safe, and I understand that, no judgment. She went with what is safe, and she was saying, but I put in applications for baggers at grocery stores, for stock shelf people. Nothing wrong with doing those jobs. But it's fascinating to me, Emilio, that you could be standing with an individual who's showing you a skill and talent that not all of us have, that's
Yeah,
natural, and you're not putting that together. But wait a minute, this is their job, possibly.
right,
Could you
right.
speak to parents kind of opening up their vision to look at their kids as having skills and talents and how they have to help support that and move that forward?
Right. And what came to mind as you were saying that was, what if the individual didn't have a disability? how would we be treating that opportunity and that talent if
Yeah.
the individual didn't have a disability, right? And like I said, I have two daughters, and when I see their interest, and as a parent, I start trying to gear opportunities based on their interest, based on their passion. Um, but a lot of times, as parents, if we're fearful, I'll go back to my 17-year-old who's going to start driving on Monday of next week. I'm fearful for her and myself and my car, right? I mean, and it takes a lot for us to say, would I say, you got your license, great, but I don't want you to drive, right? That's not the right approach, because that license is going to give her
True.
the opportunity and access to do what's in the next step in her life and her development and her growth. And I think for our parents, we need to continue to, and it's challenging and it's fearful. I get it, you know. We have to continue to develop our individuals, our loved ones, with the trained and thought of what would be the next step in our normal process, in
Yeah.
our normal um, um, stages in life, if you will, right? And I think here's where kind of the rubber hits the road, where a lot of times they may not have the resources to have built a foundation of trust within an organization or within a community to say, I'm going to turn over my loved one to you because I want them to take that next step in their development, that next step in life. It reminds me, my background is in early childhood education. It reminds me of that young 18-month-old or that young toddler that once they start walking, it's that challenge and that fear of, well, now they're strolling around and they're stumbling all over the place, but we have to let them do that for them to grow and develop, right? But what keeps us from doing that is that fear. And so I think, but when we have circles of support, whether it be an organization, family members, friends, we talked about friends are also a huge support system. We have to have a support system that allows parents to get past the fear and trust that the next steps of their loved one's life and their next steps in their growth and development are in their best interest, not in my self-interest because I want them to be
Because
safe.
I want to be protective, which is
Right,
natural.
right, right,
Yeah, and the biggest fear of every parent is what will happen to my child when I'm gone. Well, that fear is going to stay there big time unless you start taking steps to
right,
release them with thought, purpose, order, and a network, a community. We keep going
right.
back to the word community.
Right, right. And so that's what our programs are intended to do. And we work with families too, because that's a big aspect of what we're trying to do is work with families to say, this is the normal cycle. Let's help support that. Let's build a foundation where they can go from interest and passion to possibly work and self-sufficiency and independence, right? Because we all have our time days. All our days are time. So what is going to happen to my loved one when I'm no longer here? Well, we developed that structure and that foundation for them to be independent as much as they possibly can, depending on disabilities that may or may not be certain levels of independence, right? And so I think working together, but trust comes a long way, Judy. And I
Yeah.
feel like sometimes families either don't have the trust or have never had the support systems to build a strong enough trust base to say, let's run with it.
Let's give it a try.
Right.
Well said. So, talk to us about the career opportunities. How do you approach this?
So we have our starts off with our career development. In our career development, we take passion and interest. We look at individuals' abilities, their the way how they communicate, their ability to find and explore what they would like to do as a career. It could be in the retail industry, it could be in a warehouse, it could be greeting, it could be at a bank, it could be so many different things, right?
Mhm.
And so we really drive in that program to find what's that interest and the passion for the individual. And then our staff work to say, okay, now let's do some job exploration. And these are all words that we've done in our careers, right? When we came out of high school, we came out of college, is that job exploration. What is it that I'm going to do? So we apply the same concept and the same approach to our individuals with disabilities. Okay, now we're going to let's explore jobs based on your interest, based on, and we take them through a system of looking online based on based on interest and passion. So it's not just about let's get you a job. Shakey's down the street needs, a dishwasher. And so it's really, is that what you want to do? And sometimes that is what they want to do, and that's okay.
It could be entry
It could
level.
be
We did
right,
entry
right,
level things when we were
right,
younger. We're just happy to make a living. I mean,
right.
earn some money to go to the mall,
Right. And so
which
that's
I
part of
still
that
am
step.
happy to do, by the way,
Right, right. And
go
that's
to the
part of that's
mall.
part of the growth. That's part of the growth model, right? If you will. And so we do that. We teach them how to do interviews. We teach them how to write their resume. All the same steps that we've done, right? So we do the same thing. Once we find a match, here's where the advocacy that us as the Arc of LA and Orange counties, that what we do is we do a lot of advocating because we can have the passion to find someone, an individual, but guess what we need? We need our community partners to provide the opportunity for them and open doors for them to step in and have that job, right? To have whether it be a dishwasher, greeter, office support, right? Maybe someone answering phones, and so they need that opportunity. And so what we do is we advocate with community businesses because there's a lot of education, and I'm sure you know this, Judy. In our business community, we need to do a lot of advocating and education to businesses to say, give them a fair shot because we know you're not.
Okay, this is such an excellent point you just made. And I think about this all the time. And I think about how am I going to approach this within the context of the show. So you may have employers that would be very open to hiring neurodivergent people, but don't know how to handle it, don't know how to communicate, don't know what to expect, don't know just how to relate to them. Is that what you mean by education?
Yes, it is what I mean by education, but there's also a support system. So when we get a company or organization to hire one of our participants, we then we then move them into our supported employment program. So they go from career development. So they go, let's say culinary arts or creative arts, right? Passion, interest, career development. Let's find what you want to do, job exploration. We're able to find you a job. They go into supported employment. And at that point, we send them with job coaches. So there's always a job coach with the individual because that person is a liaison between the company or organization and the individual. So we take on that bridge for
Wow.
families and the individual as well. And so we want to, because the way I look at it, coming from, I've worked in the nonprofit sector all along, and I have a lot of board members that own businesses and things like that. And all it takes is one burned opportunity and they're closing the door. Right. And so
True.
we've got to make sure that when we have that opportunity and our advocacy has gone away, it's gone to a point where we've had the door open, we got to make sure that that door stays open for all the individuals that are going to follow behind this person. Right.
Yes.
And so we got to make sure that we have a liaison that addresses needs, that addresses maybe some communication barriers, maybe it's, anything. We have enough to work with our normal individuals. Everyone brings something to the workforce, right? There's people that
Right.
are late, so just because you have a disability doesn't mean that you're not going to encounter the same things you would with any one of your staff members. And so a lot of it is that advocacy and education of the businesses out in our communities to say, give them an opportunity because there's fear on their side
No, that's
that
true
says if I
too.
hire someone with a disability, am I going to have the same production level? Am I going to have, any issues with customer engagement and things? So they have fears, right? So we
True.
have to address and educate them on the abilities of individuals that we serve and not focus on the fears that they may have.
Okay, so here's something else and that I find interesting. So typically we, those who aren't neurodivergent, will apply for a job. And I want to talk about the crazy way people apply for jobs now, which is Indeed and Monster. And you're in this pool of millions of people and you have no identity. I mean, it really bugs me. I'm from the old days when you had a phone number and a person's name and you called them up if there was a job opening and you had a conversation like two people. That doesn't happen anymore unless you go into small businesses and introduce yourself. So, okay. So you go into a small business, a local business, you introduce yourself, you connect with the manager, and manager's open. I'm going to give this person a try. They come on the job and they do well. They like the job, everybody's happy. Now we have step two, which happens in everybody's life, and it just happened in my nephew John's life. He spoke up. He was hired as a dishwasher at the VFW near his house. And it was great. These were wonderful people. They treated him beautifully, and he's social anyway. He then looked around and it was a nice little club and he wanted to be a waiter. But he didn't have the reading, writing, and arithmetic skills to be a waiter, but he had the personality and he had the interest. And so people gravitate towards him. So their manager, to her absolute credit, took the menu, went to an artist, had pictures of each food item there. And the word, what it was underneath, but it was pictures. She had it laminated and she had some kind of marker. So John brought that to the tables and he said, I don't read well or write. Can you just mark how many of each item you want and put the number down? Everybody was open to it. He
Mhm.
brought the menu back to the manager. She keyed it in the register. When it was over, they called him back to the kitchen. He brought the food out. And then at the table, he said, can you please take what you ordered? Easy. And
Right.
then the
Right.
manager had to do the bill. But it was easy because the manager was open and he spoke up. He
Right.
articulated that he wanted to do something more.
Right.
Take it
And I
away
think
on
that that speaks volumes to the mission of that company and wanting
that.
and maybe even or maybe it's just the manager, right? Maybe it's the manager that says, you know what, I want to be a part of this individual support because they see that they need the support, right?
Hmm.
And that's always advocating, that's why advocating in the forefront of what we do, because at any stage of their life, they're going to need us to help advocate for them
Right.
and stand side by side with them. Sometimes we need to stand in front of them and advocate for them. Sometimes we'll stand behind them and advocate for them. And sometimes we're going to stand next to them and advocate. But there's
Yes.
always got to be a level of advocate, of advocating for them and their opportunities and being able to meet their needs in whichever way is possible. And so, that's the advocating that we do as an organization. We have a lot of community business partners where we share what we do, kind of what we're the same conversation we're having. I have and my team has with local businesses to say, this isn't going to be someone applying online and you're going to get to know them through a resume because that's not what we do. Right?
Good. I'm so happy
Not
to
what we
hear
do.
that. I
We make the
really
phone
am.
call, we make the connection. They know who we are, they know what we're doing. And
Hmm.
by the way, Judy, here's someone that's interested and wants to work for you, work with you because they know what you do and they're interested in joining your team, right? And so there's a lot of that partnerships that we have in the community, but that's something that we take on and we take very seriously because we want to make sure that we have those avenues of support for our individuals.
Is there anything, we're ending our time here, Emilio, but is there anything that I haven't asked that we haven't talked about that you really wanted to make sure you communicated?
I think one of the things is when we talked about advocating. Um, we as a field need to continue to advocate for services funding across all levels in the state. And our field cannot be silent when it comes to advocating. There's times where we got to kick doors down. I'm a door kicker. I go to our local legislators, city council,
You
assembly
really?
members, senators, and
Wow.
there's a lot of advocating we need to do because we as individuals, as parents have a huge voice to say if we need more resources, if we need more funding, if we need more opportunities, that's why they're in office. And so we cannot forget the advocating at the legislative level for what is right for individuals that serve and their families.
So, do
Um,
you get funding in the way of government funding as long as private funding?
Government funding is going to anyone who serves adults with developmental disabilities, for the most part, is primarily funded through the state.
Okay. Do
And so
you
how
accept private
we do,
donations?
100% we do.
Okay.
We do three fundraisers a year. We have a golf tournament. We have a advocacy and awareness walk, a 1 and 3 mile
Yep.
walk that we do here locally.
We all know about that. That is
Right.
world famous.
And so we do those. And so those are ways that we continue to engage our private donors and our private sponsors to do that. So again, here again, it's a collective support system from the
Yeah.
private sector, from the government sector, families, and us as an organization, right? And so it's kind of
Yeah.
this four-pronged thing, but we cannot forget that legislative advocacy because that's important. And our parents play a huge role in that because that's where we need them walking side by side with us when we go knock on the legislator's door and say, there's a problem with the services and the funding and access.
Yeah.
But
And
that's there's some education to be done around that with families too.
well, also with personnel. I mean, you talked about it when we talked about transportation, but I just know from my nephew personnel coming out of these government offices is tough. I don't know if it's because they don't get paid enough. I don't know what the educational level is that you have to do this. I know that you don't always have to be a social worker because I've met aides
Right.
that maybe were ex-school teachers or just really good parents and or just have a desire to help. So again, we're going to end this with the concept of community
Yes.
because community is important. We have the community of the special needs people, we have the community of the parents and families, we have the business community, we have the government community, but we all win in community, right?
Yes. I love it. Yes. We all win. Yep. Yep. We
Yeah.
all
And
win.
for me, this has been such a wonderful experience getting to know people like you that are joyful, that it's all positive what you're doing. And I just said, man, we need this now. And so you have brought joy to my life as I try and kind of am an adjunct to you and your efforts. So, thank you.
Thank you, Judy. I really appreciate that. And it's a labor of love. It really
It
is. You know
really
what I mean?
is.
But we gotta keep advocating for our disability community. We gotta keep pushing forward. Some days are gonna be as harder than others,
Yep.
but that's life. We we all experience it that way in different manners. But at the end of the day, it takes that community to get us through it.
Yeah. And just the appreciation that we get from people, the neurodivergent community that we help, just that gratitude and appreciation back. It's like, I don't know, that's more, money can't buy that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, so we are going to have the show notes. The contact information will be there, but I do know people like to write numbers down while they're listening. Easiest way to connect with your organization.
I would say, well, I'll give you our telephone number here at the ARC of Los Angeles and Orange Counties is 562-803-4606. That gets you right up to our front desk, and you can call us, schedule a tour of our facilities. We do tours by appointment, so feel free to come through and take a tour of all the 7 programs that we offer. You'll be able to see our commercial kitchen, our culinary arts program, our creative arts program with all the different arts forms displayed by individuals with disability. Or you can visit us online at www.thearclaoc.org.
It's a great website. I really enjoyed reading through it. So thank you, Emilio. And we have
You're
to do it
welcome.
again. And I will get back with you on that hotel that does art shows because I thought that was fascinating.
Sounds good, Judy. I really appreciate the time. It was great talking today. And you brought joy to me too.
Thank you. Ah, that's so sweet. Thank you. And thank all of you for listening. I'm open to any of your ideas. You can always reach me through the comment section of this on the YouTube show. And I close the show with the way I open the show, and that is in the world of special needs people, we all need each other. Talk to you next week.
Thank you.